Sportsman's Radio with your host, motivational speaker Greg Dwyer. Be sure to check out Greg at www.gregdwyer.com. That's www.gregdwyer.com. Now on to our show. Take it away, Greg.
Okay, we are back with another diamond tip. So we've been looking at the letters in diamonds. So today we're focusing on the letter N for new. Now this is a little tricky. Now I'm not saying that you want to be looking for new things all the time, chasing after a shiny, bright object. I'm not talking about that. Imagine holding up a micro glass, and you got it there and you're looking at it, and magnifying glass, that's the word I'm thinking of, and you're moving it from here to there to there I mean, it would be crazy. So we're not talking about doing that, moving around looking for something new. But what tends to happen is that people focus on wanting to change, and then a couple days later they fall back into old patterns, and here's a secret about the personal growth movement. Someone will go and listen to somebody on a podcast, or they'll buy a book and they'll read it, or they'll go to a workshop or the seminar, whatever it is. Maybe it's the importance of focus. And maybe that's a Friday, right? And then a couple days later, it's a Monday, and they fall right back into old patterns, and then they're taking out their magnifying glass and they're trying to look for something else, the secret formula. So I'm not suggesting that we go chasing after shiny, bright things. What I'm suggesting is that the enemy of growth is our comfort zone, and that we have a tendency to fall back into patterns. The best example that comes to my mind, about a month ago, a gentleman was across the street and they did some work for my neighbor, cutting down some trees. And I was really happy to see them because I needed some work done. So they came over the next day and they cleared a tree next to my house, and I took a photo of it. I took a photo of before and after. It was wonderful. And the gentleman that runs the company says, "Are you satisfied?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, look, this is great. The clearage or the separation between the house and the tree is wonderful." Well, about a week later, a storm came through Connecticut, and I don't know, I walked outside, got in my car, and I looked up to see where the tree was, and one of the limbs was on my roof. And for the last 2 weeks, it's been going lower and lower and lower and lower. And I thought, it's kind of like life. We want to do something. Maybe we want to start a business, or we want to be more focused at work. Maybe it's a personal goal. But we have the tendency to go right back to where we were before. It's like an organ or a piano. You wouldn't expect someone to come in and tune it once and be done with it. You need to have someone come back again and again and again. Now here's what I've learned over the years. We have about 45 to 65,000 thoughts every single day, give or take, right? I don't know how many exactly, but 90% of what we're thinking is on autopilot. We're just thinking the same thoughts over and over and over and over again. It's like the movie Groundhog Day. 45 to 65,000 thoughts every day, and 90% of them are the same. And 50% of what we're thinking and saying and doing is just a habit, and it's the comfort zone. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because we can learn how to focus. We can learn how to put ourselves in a trance-like state. But if we don't want to do something new and we want to cling to what's familiar, then we're probably not going to change. The other day I was watching, I don't know if it was Jordan Peterson or somebody on YouTube. They were talking about the characteristics that go on between a young child and a mom. Little child, maybe it's 2 years old, or toddler 3 or 4 years old. That child will go out and explore maybe the backyard. But the moment it realizes, or he or she realizes mommy's gone, they get a little nervous, a little bit of anxiety, and they run right back to have that security again. And I think we have a tendency to do that. At least I'm familiar with it. I came across this book by a gentleman, David Ricco, When the Past is Present. And what he's saying is he's talking about transference, in that what tends to happen is that we just simply repeat old patterns over and over and over and over again. I remember years ago, one of my first speaking events, and I was working with a friend of mine that was coaching me on it. And after it was over, I asked him, I said, I think I did well. What do you think? He said, what do you think? I said, well, I sold $10,000 worth of product at the back of the room, and I had never done that before. He said, good for you. And I said to him, and it was a really sincere question. I said, I can't help to think that even though the people were really excited and they bought a lot of product, that a good percent of them are just going to slip right back into old patterns. And that was my concern. And that's probably what got me thinking about this topic. And you know what he said to me? He said nothing. He didn't even address it. It was almost like I didn't say anything. And that really bothered me. And I started researching this, and I was hungry about this. Why is it that some people get focus like New Year's Eve and then they lose focus, and other people, they get really crystal clear focus and they stay with it? Small percentage. These people are rare. They're not like most people. But why is that? What's the difference? And that's really what began my journey on this topic of distraction versus focus. So as I promised to a lot of people, I'm going to share with you what I did last month, which was the month of July, which was new, which allowed me to book 20 events in the month of October. I'm going to share with you exactly what I did. I have nothing to sell. I would just say, if you like what you're hearing here, go to Gregory Dwyer on YouTube and hit the like button or subscribe button. That's all I'm asking. But I want to share with you what I actually did to make this happen. And I will be doing that after the halfway point, the break. I think most of us are just afraid. We're just afraid of change. We say we want to lose weight, or we say we want to be in a relationship, or we say we want to, work our way up the corporate ladder and have more experience. We want to be more productive at the job, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter, whatever it is. It's easy to talk about it. What's in the way are these patterns. Again, if we're thinking 45 to 65,000 thoughts every single day, and 90% of them are the same, and 50% of our thoughts, words, and our actions are just like Groundhog Day, how do we expect to change? Now, a lot of times people change when they have a crisis, like the crisis in Hawaii, or the crisis in Ukraine, or the crisis where families are falling apart, or there's divorce, or someone loses a job, or someone gets sick, or the doctor says, listen, you gotta stop smoking, or you gotta stop drinking. Often it's the crisis that hits us in the face, and then we're forced to change. However, if you ever read Stephen Covey, right, you probably did, he talked about people who are proactive. These are people who are looking at the next 5 years, the next 10 years, and they know exactly where they want to go, and they're able to sacrifice the present for a future gain. And they know exactly what they're going to do, and they know they probably have to do something that is uncomfortable. I got to tell you, I am just like you in that when something is proposed to me where I've never done it before, there is a sense of panic. There is a sense of fear. I remember I was on a television show a couple years back, and the producer said to me, would you like your own show? And I said, yeah, no problem, let's do it. That's just how I am. I'm like, yeah, okay. He goes, no, go home and think about it. I said, no, I really don't need to go home and think about any of this. He says, okay, you sure? I said, yeah. So the first day I show up for the taping of this cable show here in Connecticut, I can't tell you how nervous I was. I don't even think I got the first sentence out without stumbling on my words. It was terrible. I can't. It's on my YouTube. It's one of my earliest television shows. I can't even watch it. It's so hard to watch because it wasn't good. Like, it really wasn't good. My first podcast that I did, I don't think it was any good. I certainly didn't have 100 followers. I had no one listening to me. But every single week I just did the podcast. and I interviewed people, and I just got better at it. And I got to the point where I didn't have to think about interviewing people on television or interviewing people on a podcast or even talking to you right now. After a while, it just becomes second nature. I can say the same thing about my first sales call. I remember I was in Ohio, actually. I was in Cleveland, and I was in a direct sales company. And I knew I had to reach out with a warm market or a cold list or something like that. And I made my first sales call, and I was terrible, absolutely terrible, because I had never done that before. It was completely new for me. So my point is, I really think the reason why people resist the new is because of fear. They don't. By the way, do you like my new glasses? They're not really new. I've had them for years. I wear them when I do my lecture, The Importance of Focus. And I only wear them when I do that. By the way, I should tell you, in the year 2016, I was asked to do a lecture or a presentation in Long Island, and the title was called The Magic of Communication. It was all about nonverbal communication and NLP and verbal communication. And I had like 16, maybe 17 different magic tricks, and it was an hour long, and it was good. It was my first one. I wouldn't say that it was bad. I was nervous, but I will tell you, between you and me, I didn't really know what I was doing. I did the best that I could with my thinking back in 2016. I put together the show. I produced it, I called in someone to record it, and it was my first attempt. And it was okay. I mean, it was good. I was happy with the results, but if I was doing that now in 2023, I wouldn't be happy with the results, because over the years, it's changed, it's new. And one of the things that happened to me along the way is my good friend Tim David took me under his wing many years ago, and he's a speech coach and he works with speakers. He said, Greg, you really gotta focus on something else. You know, the importance of knowing your topic and knowing your niche and being able to help somebody in a specific field is probably more important than talking about a topic that you want to talk about. And I remember I was up in Boston, we were having coffee and we were having the conversation, and I was driving home thinking, you know, I was very, very frustrated because I knew I had to think about something different. I had to think about something new. And I was almost at the point of quitting. I remember exactly where I was. I was driving home. There was a gas station there, was a Dunkin' Donuts, and I was like, that's it. This is not worth it. I am done with this. This is ridiculous. I'm just going to go back to what I was doing before. The frustration on a scale to 1 to 10 was about 11 or a 12, you know. And then I had this breakthrough. I thought, okay, I'm going to walk away from the magic of communication and I'm going to focus on something else. And I created this lecture called The Importance of Focus. And even in the last 12 months, from July of last year, which is 2022, to July of this year, there has been complete changes in the lecture, and the reason why is coaching. I've had people coach me face-to-face and also over the internet and have helped me see my blind spots. So what I'm saying here is, if you want to get to the next level in life, you cannot rely on those 45 to 65,000 thoughts every single day. I know it's going to give you comfort. I know that 50% of your thoughts, words, and actions are going to bring you comfort, and I understand that. You know, when we get stressed out, we want to go to our favorite restaurant or talk to our favorite people or go eat that ice cream, you know, because it brings comfort to us. But it's outside of our comfort zone that is going to give us the growth that we're looking for. And here's the interesting thing about this. I just heard someone talk about this the other day, and I think this is powerful. If you're in sales and you're making like 5 calls a day, right? And the guy in the other cubicle or in another company is making, 100 calls a day or whatever. There's a big difference. And Jim Rohn used to talk about this. It's nothing new. The guy who's never taken a sales class, right? and has never really read a book on sales, if he stays with it, right? Because there's a lot of turnover in sales. If he stays with it, if he just talks to hundreds of people, thousands of people, in a year, he's going to be better than the guy that's talking to 5 people a day. You just can't compete with someone that's just talking to 2 or 3 people a week, or 2 or 3 people a month, or 5 people a day, versus a person that's talking to like 100 people a week, or maybe 50 people a day, or 25 people a day. So when I look at the difference of my first phone call, my first warm call to a friend because I was in direct sales, versus the calls that I'm doing now, it's night and day. And it's just because I broke past the fear, got out of the comfort zone, only because I knew what I wanted was over there past the fear. It's like if you were fighting a dragon, the dragon is holding the treasure. The dragon is holding the diamond or the thing that you want, and you have to face that dragon. You have to face that opponent to get what you want. And I've said this before, you know, being in business, working in sales, have your own company, whatever you're doing, getting outside of your comfort zone, that's the key. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to share with you exactly what I did new last month that landed me 20 speaking events in the month of October. I've never done this before. I got the idea, decided to do it. It was new, and it paid off. So let's do this. We'll take a quick, I think it's 34-second commercial, and we will be right back.
You've been listening to the Greg Dwyer Radio Show, brought to you by motivational speaker Greg Dwyer on buildingfortunesradio.com. Do you wish you could sharpen your focus on what matters most to you and achieve more? Then you owe it to yourself to read Greg's ebook at gregdwyerebook.com. That's www.gregdwyerebook.com. Download it today and give it away. As always, we want to thank you for listening to the Greg Dwyer Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio. Motivational speaker Greg Dwyer. Now back to our show. Take it away, Greg.
All right, we just got about 12 minutes left, so I want to get into this. You can't take a magnifying glass, and if you want to burn something, you know, like maybe a piece of grass, you can't be moving it all around. So when I'm talking about doing something new, I'm not talking about chasing a shiny object. I am talking about focus. But how it relates to your life is recognizing that your default is wanting to stay with the same people, the same family members, the same activity, the same thoughts. And if you want something new, you know, we've heard this before. You know, if you do the same thing over and over again, right, and you expect different results, I think this is probably in AA or probably in a personal growth movement. It's insanity, right? And I guess this guy, he talks about it in the book, when the past becomes present. He's talking about, you know, dating the same people over and over again, or marrying the same people over and over again, because you're looking for something that's familiar that you had in your childhood. You got to grow up. So here's what happened to me. Last year, I had the most productive year in the speaking business. I don't have time to go into why, but September, October, November of 2022, I was on the road constantly. Upstate New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Long Island. It was wonderful. In fact, it was a dream come true. I had to pinch myself. I worked on this, you know, during COVID, after COVID, and then finally I got all of these bookings. So this year I decided to take some time off the beginning of 2023, focus on the website, focus on the email campaigns, focus on marketing, not necessarily selling. So I did that on purpose. And then I got this idea, I don't know, late in the year of this year, that I was going to do a Halloween mind reading show. Now, I have never done a Halloween mind reading show ever. Now, don't tell anybody this. I do a corporate mind reading show where I talk about how to know what other people are thinking without being a mind reader, which is more of a corporate business mind reading, where, you know, you want to know if people are going to say yes to no. You want to be able to read people. That's something different. I've never put together a Halloween mind reading show. And something just came to me. It's probably because I go up to Salem usually in the fall and I see a colleague of mine do the Salem Magic Show. It's a Halloween show, and I've been seeing this probably 5 or 6 times over the years, and it was just there in my subconscious mind. So what I did is I put together a brand new website. Brand new. It's gregdwyer.com, but it's spelled differently. It's Gregg Dwyer.com. So it's got 3 G's in it. So I went on Wix, never produced this before. I would say within 4 or 5 hours I had the website up, probably less than that. Gregg Dwyer.com, and it says Greg Dwyer Mind Reader, right? It has nothing to do about the importance of focus or anything like that. Now I have a list of 1,300 libraries, and instead of talking to them about, the importance of focus, which I'd have to be on the phone with them for 15, 20 minutes before they could get it and understand the benefit of it, I thought, okay, I'm going to change the event to a Halloween mind reading show, and I'm going to sell it to a specific market, which are libraries who need foot traffic in the month of October. I had the list already. I had 1,300 names. I already had the list. I worked out the CRM. I figured out the email sequence. I came up with new emails, which was all new to me. Like, I'm not a really technical person. I don't like to sit down and do coding. Don't like to figure things out like that. That's not who I am. At least that's how I identify myself. I like the big picture. And so looking at a CRM and looking at all of these things, it just drove me crazy because it was new. And here's what I did. I sat down every single day for maybe an hour, maybe 2, and my goal was to talk to 5 to 10 librarians every single day. So sometimes in the morning, I would spend from like 11 to 12, talk to 5 people. I averaged about 5 people a day. In the morning, I should say, in the morning. So like 11 to 12. And then I took a break, went to lunch, got a coffee, came back, and I had another hour and I spoke to another 5 people. And then, of course, I would do follow-up. Now, here's the key. I got the idea because I recognized that the market could use this without a lot of explanation. My pitch was this. Hi, my name is Greg. I'm just curious. Have you started planning for Halloween or October? The reason why I'm asking is because I have this spooky mind reading show that is for the whole family, and I think you might want to take a look at it. www.greg, that's Greg with 3 G's, Gregg, Dwyer.com. Take a look at it, and sale after sale. Some people, the sale came immediately. Like, yeah, this sounds great. I'm looking at the website. How much? Booked them on the spot. That happened a lot of times. Some people, they say, well, we need references. I said, are you kidding? Go just Google my name. Google my name, go into YouTube, Google my name, look at my reviews at 5-star. Now, you gotta understand, this is the reason why I'm mentioning this to you, is because I've never done this before. Now, I will tell you a secret, all right? I sold this without even coming up with the show. Like, I don't have a show. I have a show now, but when I sold the show, I didn't have the show. Someone would say, what are you going to do? I said, are you kidding me? I'm going to do mind reading, I'm going to do illusions, and I'm going to do hypnosis. How much hypnosis are you going to do? Well, not a lot. That was it. That was what I said to people. The point is that this is a metaphor for anything that you want to do. I think a lot of times we try to figure everything out. I can't do this because I haven't taken the course. I haven't done this because I'm not sure about this. Now, I will tell you the thing that speeds this process up is finding someone who has done this before. I've done it. I've worked with Paul Draper. I've worked with so many people. That's the key. I had a woman call me about 2 months ago. She wants to build a website. She's never built a website before in her life. She doesn't know how to do a domain forwarding. I'm not a really technical guy. I said, listen, I can help you. I know because I've done it. Look at this website. Look at that website. Look at this website. Look at all these websites I created. Do you like them? They're simple. They're easy. I think I can help you. My point in all of this is when it comes down to focus, most people get focused. Most people get focused like New Year's Eve. That's most people. Very few people stay focused. And I think the reason why is because we get all excited. There's this dopamine hit with new information, and then we fall right back to where we were before, and then we're looking for the new thing. And the new thing here is not necessarily good, because all it is a distraction. 5 people in the morning, 5 people in the afternoon, that's 10 people a day. It's like 50 people a week. Now, understand this, I booked 20 shows. All of them are paid except for 2. The first show is here in town, and I decided to do it as a freebie as my opening night, because I've never done this show before. I figured, well, I'm not going to charge these people. I'm going to show up, I'm going to do the show, and I'm not going to charge. And then my last night is October, I think it's October 30th, or maybe actually Halloween is my last show, and that's not paid. That's for a good friend of mine. So we're looking at 20 shows. What's also new for me is I've never done 20 shows in a month, ever. And I don't see myself doing that ever again. And as far as the financial payback, I have never seen before in my life as well. Again, it's all new. It's all new. So the point of all of this is you got to know where you are. You got to decide where you are in your life. You have to decide what's important. You have to aim for it. You have to manage your mind, your conscious, your unconscious. You have to focus on the outcome. But you also have to realize that you're not going to get there by doing the same things over and over again that you've done before that may have not worked. Like, for instance, there was a time in my career where I was really focused in direct sales. And I learned a lot. It introduced me to Mark Victor Hansen. It introduced me to Dale Carnegie, a lot of the things that I'm involved with as far as the books and the seminars that I've gone to. But there came a point in my sales career that I had to walk away from direct sales. I said, okay, this is great. I learned a lot, but I'm not going to stay with this company, and I'm not going to jump to another company. I'm going to do something completely different. So hopefully this is encouraging you, because wherever you want to get to, which is the next step in your life, your personal life, or in your business life, or your career at work, you may have to do something different. You may have to focus differently. It could be the meditation that we're talking about, or the self-hypnosis that we're talking about, or maybe you do something, simple like recording your voice for an MP3 and you listen to it every night or every day or while you're commuting to work. You're doing something new. And I think what stops most people is just fear. It's just fear of the unknown. I remember the first time I ever did a cable television show. I remember the first time I did a speech. I remember the first time I did a podcast. I remember the first time, 90 seconds. It's all the same. The enemy of your growth is your comfort zone. So if you can just recognize that what you want is past that fear, it's like a dragon which is guarding that treasure, then you'll recognize that you can slay that dragon and you can get that treasure. Because I gotta tell you, I don't think you have too much competition. Not at all. And I'll tell you why you don't have too much competition. And here's the reason. Most people get focused and then they get distracted. And then they get focused and then they get distracted. It's like New Year's Eve. Very few people stay focused. They're very rare, like a rare diamond. But here's what they are. They're bright and they are clear. And they'll make their company, their organization, millions of dollars. So hopefully I gave you something to think about. I know I did. Next week, we're going to talk about the D in diamond, and then we're going to look at the letters M-I-N-D, and then finally a bonus. Talk to you next time. Thanks, everybody.
by motivational speaker Greg Dwyer on buildingfortunesradio.com. Check out Greg at gregdwyer.com. Be sure to download his ebook at gregdwyerebook.com to stay focused on what matters most to you. That's www.gregdwyerebook.com. We want to thank you for listening, and go make a difference in your world.